Welcome back. As I mentioned, we have Ginny and Bernie Frogel here. Well, welcome both of you to the show. How are you today?
Great. Thank you, Lisa.
Very nice to meet you. And it's a great story as to why you are here. And it is a show called No Man Left Behind that's going to air next month. Now, of course, we have you here because we want to talk about sort of how this came about. And it's pretty much a story about something near and dear to your heart.
Well, you know, I grew up in New Zealand. My father and mother met in 1943, and he was an American Marine, and of course she lived in New Zealand. She played the piano at the Jewish Community Center in Wellington.
Okay.
And they met, and he was shipped back to the Philippines, to the island of Betio, November of 1943, and they were killed landing. And I was born in March, so I never knew my father. And over the years, you know, I heard the story, but never really paid attention to anything. And in December of 2019, or 18 it may have been, before COVID, I got a phone call from a Marine. Actually, Bernie answered the phone, and when he said he was calling from the Marines, he hung up on him.
Oh, did you think he was joking?
Well, we'd had a lot of crazy calls.
I bet. Okay.
So anyway, they said, we've located your father's remains from the Philippines. And it was like, wow.
What a shock.
Yeah, because I'd never really thought about it all those years, and I was very angry with the Marines and about war in general, and did not have good feelings about it. Anyway, apparently a brother of my father had given DNA back in the 80s with the thought that maybe if they found any remains.
So smart of him.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So wait, so you hung up on him, and then did he call right back?
Yes.
Actually, his manager called back, which was a lady that was from Birmingham, Alabama, and you can tell by my accent that I speak Southern. So she had the sweetest Southern voice, and she convinced me that this was for real.
Okay.
Then I passed the phone over to Jenny.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you start recording everything that was going on? So what are we seeing in the movie?
Well, actually, that was at his interment in Arlington. The remains of most of the Marines were taken from Betio Island and kept in storage in Honolulu. And then they began the DNA testing in the 80s and started identifying people. When we finally got the date, because we had to cancel because of COVID 3 times, we went to Arlington, and the first thing was the plane coming in from Honolulu with my father's remains in the coffin. And there were hundreds of people there. Retired military, people that are really interested in identifying these remains. It's quite a program going on in Honolulu. And when the plane landed, the fire department created arches of water over the plane, and it was just incredible. And one of the retired Marines walked me up to the actual plane, to the coffin, where I could have a few moments alone. And then all these people were there, the FBI, hundreds of people, and we were just amazed at the turnout. And they were all hugging everybody in my family, and it was It was a very poignant moment, more so to me than the actual interment the next day.
Wow.
So,
Well, we're looking at some of the video right now, and it does look extremely impressive. Absolutely. Oh, and here is, wow. It is an amazing process. And even though you didn't know your father, you still felt a connection.
oh, of course, yeah. And yet I'd never thought about him all those years.
Right, right.
Oh yeah, my family
There
walking
they are.
up. Yeah.
Aw. And it's just so nice, even though you didn't get to know him, at least you had this part of him, right?
Yeah.
And this show is about 50 minutes, and it pretty much goes from, it shows a little bit of the history, and then it goes into, your experiences, and then here we're showing some of the services. So.
The pomp and military service was something you see in a movie, and one of the gentlemen from Arlington was talking to my daughter, and he said they had not had a service with this much elegance and dignity since Colin Powell was interred
Wow.
in Arlington.
Wow.
And this being, I think, one of the first coming back from the remains being identified and coming in from Honolulu, I think they really, really went all out with the gun salute. And yeah, it was just like you see in a movie, but and it was surreal because I was taking part in it, and with my husband and my family, and they're the ones that actually persuaded me to do this. I did not want to do it, and they felt that a hero needs to be given a hero's farewell.
That's awesome, and I'm really glad that you documented it too, because obviously this means a lot to many people, and many who still have never found remains. So there is hope for other people, and I think that this gives that some hope.
And I think that will give these families that lost these young men closure.
Exactly.
And they were all heroes.
Exactly. Now, Bernie, I know we were talking a little bit off camera that this wasn't necessarily something that you had produced, but Bernie did. And I heard you got in trouble for that.
Well, sometimes the backstory is more interesting than the front story. The front story is obviously well documented by the videos that were taken in Arlington. But as I got into it, I decided I wanted to put something together for the family, but it got more so into other things after I started involved. After realizing there were hundreds of people involved in making this happen, I thought they deserved as much recognition as anyone. So the video, the backstory is a lot about those people. It's also another backstory that's not in the video is how we met. Jenny's father, his name was Thomas Harley Cooper. Everybody called him Harley. Well, Harley was involved in a way how we met. Harley grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where I grew up. He was killed in 1943. I was born in 1943. And he went halfway around the world to New Zealand to find his bride. And his daughter went halfway around the world to find me in Chattanooga.
Wow.
So, and the other interesting thing that we did at Arlington, which was not in the video, is we both went to visit Robert Kennedy's gravesite.
Okay.
John F. K.
Yes.
And that was John Kennedy. That was the day that we met when he was assassinated. So that day was important to us. But that day was actually 20 years to the day that the Tarawa battle occurred.
Wow.
So
well,
there's a lot of
sounds
interesting.
like meant to be. Sounds like all of this was just meant to be, huh? Right. Well, I appreciate you guys sharing all this information, and our viewers can see this right here on Village Television, and they can view it on Sundays at 7 p.m. starting in May, and then I'm also assuming it'll be on our YouTube channel, so if people miss it, they can always go to our YouTube channel and view it there.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I love this story, and I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And you
Thank
did a
you.
good job.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And of course, if you want to see the show, you can see it on Sundays at 7 p.m. right here on Village Television for the month of May. We'll be right back.